Welcome to Adam's Athenaeum. Let's take a look together through the news and records of our times as we try to shed light upon the unvarnished truth. Thanks for coming back as we talk about the culture war in today's episode. Today, we inescapably live in a culture war, and have been for some time. What does that mean? Who and what does it affect? Is this an effective way to run society? Let's talk key definitions and some history before we answer these questions. Now, seeing as Merriam-Webster's didn't have a definition for culture war, and I prefer to use them when defining words, we will use Wikipedia, once again, as it's fairly accurate in its description, then use other news sources to verify what is stated. According to Wikipedia, a culture war is a cultural conflict between social groups and the struggle for dominance of their values, beliefs, and practices. It commonly refers to topics on which there is general societal disagreement and polarization in societal values. The term is commonly used to describe aspects of contemporary politics in the United States. This includes wedge issues such as abortion, homosexuality, transgender rights, pornography, multiculturalism, racism, and other cultural conflicts based on values, morality, and lifestyle, which are described as the major political cleavage. And they continue later to say, 2014 to the present, broadening of the culture war. While traditional culture war issues, notably abortion, continues to be a focal point, the issues identified with culture war broadened and intensified in the mid to late 2010s. Journalist Michael Grunwald says that President Donald Trump has pioneered a new politics of perpetual culture war, and lists the Black Lives Matter movement, U.S. national anthem protests, climate change, education policy, healthcare policy, including Obamacare, and infrastructure policy as culture war issues in 2018. The rights of transgender people and the role of religion in lawmaking were identified as new fronts in the culture war by political scientist Jeremiah Castle, as the polarization of public opinion on these two topics resembled that of previous culture war issues. In 2020, during the COVID-19 pandemic, North Dakota Governor Doug Burgum described opposition to wearing face masks as a senseless culture war issue that jeopardizes human safety. So where do we begin? I would certainly agree that the U.S. feels like it's in a lukewarm civil war. It's not quite a hot war with war lines and factions fighting regularly, nor is it a cold war being fought mostly by monetary means. We have seen street fighting, political violence, lies, and slander used by both political parties. One half of the nation is deemed deplorables, the other half is labeled libtards. Our basic worldviews have shifted so dramatically away from the other parties that perhaps irreparable damage has already been done to our country. During the COVID-19 pandemic, faiths were attacked by the state. In New York, former and disgraced Governor Andrew Cuomo did shut the gates to a Jewish playground. He had New York City officials do that. But that goes against the Constitution. Laws affected both church and state. However, we live in America, where those powers are supposed to remain separate. Churches had to only allow 10 people at a mass, yet strip clubs and casinos were still operable. And now for practices. You can't get a job without being fully vaccinated, nor can you travel to certain places without being fully vaccinated. And if you intend to protest, world leaders like Justin Trudeau in Canada will call your peaceful protest with kids playing in bouncy castles a white supremacist gathering, while he marches with BLM and Antifa rioters, yet cowers from peaceful protesters. The leaders of our countries are creating second-class citizens out of its own constituents. Now, as far as abortion, homosexuality, transgender rights, pornography, multiculturalism, racism, and other cultural conflicts based on values, morality, and lifestyle goes, we all hear about these issues in the news, on TikTok, in the newspapers or digital newspaper headlines. Some of us have Thanksgiving talks, discussions, or arguments about what these topics mean to us and the impacts we think they will create. I've made episodes about abortion, feminism, the patriarchy, and immigration, which are also current hot topics. So these are just examples to highlight the culture war topics as referenced in the definition of culture war. What does Wikipedia say the more current topics of debate are in regards to the culture war? Of course, the first thing it mentions is Donald Trump. I'm so sick and tired of having to defend Donald Trump from intellectually lazy people who know nothing except to repeat "Orange Man bad" and refuse to listen to facts, reason, and data. He's not a perfect man or a perfect president. I'm not advocating that. All I'm gonna say is Russiagate, Ukrainegate, Trump and Russia collusion, Trump inciting an insurrection on January 6th are all bold-faced lies. These are bold-faced lies that have been spoon-fed to the American people, many of whom gobbled it up and didn't even think twice to look at the facts about this man. I'm not going to defend him again. You can look up these issues if you think I'm wrong. BLM the corporation was also listed, perhaps also regarding the lowercase BLM movement, though not obviously so. And I've also done a video on them, exposing them for the radical, self-professed Marxists that they are. So please feel free to watch my video to learn more about them. It mentions players kneeling during the national anthem to supposedly protest police brutality. But remember the George Floyd narrative, the Michael Brown narrative of hands up, don't shoot, or the child assaulter named Jacob Blake? Apparently when the narrative is a lie, it doesn't matter, so long as the masses believe it. Yes, police brutality happens, and it should be called out and prosecuted every time it happens. Better training should be given to police on how to handle more types of situations, but if you defund the police, you can't train the police to get better. Duh. Training costs money. I'll spare us all the headache of going into climate change, education policy, healthcare policy, including Obamacare, and infrastructure policy topics from this episode, but I do want to look at where the rights of transgender people and the role of religion in lawmaking run together. Again, health mandates and orders from the states concerning the role and practice of religion during the pandemic were unconstitutional at a minimum, but were enforced nonetheless. Transgender rights in lawmaking can potentially be an unopened can of worms. Let's look at the facts. If I'm a 25-year-old male who medically transitions to be a female and complete my main transition period of 1 to 2 years, then even at 27 years old, my body, my bones, and muscles will have been using, creating, and storing testosterone at a male production level for approximately 25 years. Any woman I competed against, even at age 40, in their prime, most women would still generally have less testosterone that has affected their muscles, bones, and body structure than I would have. So when we talk about allowing trans people in sports, I'm all for allowing a trans man who wants to and can compete with cis men to do so. But I think we as a country need to honestly talk about the trans women who want to play in sports against cis women. There is an unmutable and unignorable fact that males' bodies are more muscular, on average. So to allow someone who has been a male to compete against biological women is not something to be proud of. As the great rapper Tom MacDonald would say in his song Snowflakes, he says, "The men's playing women's sports get trophies for women. Like, great, let's celebrate a man for beating some women." How is that good for female empowerment and celebrating the differences and uniqueness of females? Lastly, because they brought it up, masks. Yeah, we're going to talk about it. But first, know that I'm not giving any health advice. I'm not a doctor. I'm not an expert. I'm not telling you what to do or think in regards to masks. I'm simply going to comment on what was mentioned by this website. From Wikipedia, North Dakota Governor Doug Burgum described opposition to wearing face masks as a senseless culture war issue that jeopardizes human safety. It's people like Burgum who should be voted out of office. This mask debate completely ignored those people who medically could not wear a mask or take a vaccine due to professional medical advice from their doctors who knew their personal health information. So now we have politicians and bureaucrats with no medical schooling, expertise, or knowledge demanding that everyone, without exception, gets vaccinated and wears a mask, going against what some people's personal doctors recommend for their health. When the state compels you to take actions upon your body that are contraindicated by your professional medical doctor, that's a problem. That's a real problem. So, to conclude, this is what the culture war addresses and what it's affecting in society. I'll be honest with you. Of course I take sides in this. I side with reason, logic, actual science, and data. I use history, definitions, and multiple sources of news information to help shape my worldviews. And here's what I see. Too many people are willfully ignorant to politics and the effects of the culture war within our political sphere. Not enough people are aware of the dastardly effects of SJW logic, as well as the flaws in Marxist ideology. I'm here to explain it to you and to show you real-world examples of what is actually happening in the real world. Life doesn't revolve around you or I, nor does society. I don't bend who I am because you're upset. I don't have to change who I am or what I think because your emotions get in the way of you seeing, acknowledging, and admitting facts. So where do we go from here? The current course we're on won't lead to anywhere pretty. Let's say this leads America to have a peaceful divorce. Basically, the West and East Coasts secede to form their unions, while the heartland of America remains free from tyranny. Well, Middle America could only survive so long without access to trade routes with other countries, and even if they do grow the majority of food consumed by Americans, how long will that last? What about a hot civil war? We are far removed from the days of battle lines. We're in the age of fourth and fifth generational warfare, meaning cyber hacking and cyber attacks, placing financial and economic sanctions on others, as well as digital propaganda in the forms of memes and GIFs, or GIFs, however you like to say it. Perhaps skirmishes would happen in major cities or at politically split districts, and even house or neighborhood raids would occur. Either way, if we attack ourselves or ignore the other half of the country, where does that leave us? More divided than we currently are. And if China and Russia are already being more militarily aggressive, thanks to our spineless president, then what would stop them from invading a broken and weakened America? No, my friends, it's even hard for me to say, but we need to find a way back to peace. And that has to start with people being honest. The president, the politicians, the health professionals, the media, and even ourselves. We need people to come back to reality and wake up out of this socialist dream world so many people have fallen victim to. We need to find a way to say, I disagree with how you feel about this, but here are the facts. How do we move forward in a new way that's best for everyone? Not to help one race, ethnicity, or sex more so than any other, but to treat everyone as an equal. Tell me, what has harboring the phrase, "go punch a Nazi" done for you? I'm sure it's done nothing other than to keep you mad and blinded to anything differing from your worldview. What has calling Democrats, progressives, and liberals libtards done? Nothing more to show that both sides continue to dig their heels in and label the other side. Peace and love. Treating each other better than we treat ourselves. Honesty, hard work, patience, understanding, and reason are gifts we need to give each other nowadays. I'll do my best to help bridge the divide while still exposing what's wrong in America. Can you help bridge the divide as well? Maybe together we can save this country from the tyranny we are oh so woefully headed towards. As always, I appreciate you coming back to my Athenaeum. I post videos every Thursday, so be sure to subscribe and hit the bell icon so you can be reminded when I upload. Let's have a civil discussion in the chat about today's topic. And of course, the best way to help this channel grow is to share my videos with any and all of your friends and family. I'll see you next week.